What's going on, guys? Andrew here with yet again another natural reaction. How the freak's it going, party people? It's good to see you. Thanks so much for clicking on this video. Today we're going to take a look at Scream. I was pretty excited about this. I saw it in theaters the other day, so I wrote down some of my thoughts. This is sort of a first for me as far as this style of video on my channel, but I figured, I'd tell you some of my thoughts, maybe hear from you folks, as it's just one of my favorite film franchises of all time. I remember back in the day when I was a wee lad, I think it was one of my first visits to a place called Sam's Club. If you guys know about that place, shout out to Sam's Club. I'm just kidding. But anyway, my dad, I guess, he just had like a new membership there and was all like, hey, we're going to go to this Sam's Club place. So I remember walking around there, and I remember kind of fumbling through all the, was it DVDs or VHS? I forget. It might have been maybe when DVDs were first coming out, but it could have been a VHS. I don't know. All I remember is I was rummaging through the whole pile of stuff, and I saw this cover and this Scream. It said Scream on it, and I saw the cover, and I was just like, I don't know, we got to see this. And my dad was really into horror movies at the time and stuff like that, and he used to show us all those films when we were way too young, probably, which is probably why I'm scared of stuff as an adult today. But anyway, he used to show us all sorts of scary movies. We used to stay up late watching the Friday the 13th and all that. But this was at a time when Scream was not really known at all. Like, we had no clue what to expect. But I remember taking that sucker home. I remember, like, holding it in my hand, staring at the cover and all that the whole time, being like, ooh, this seems like it's going to be cool for some reason. I remember watching that film, like, a million times. That was definitely, like, my first, like, real introduction to, like, horror, slasher, / like, psychological horror movies like that. And I just felt like it changed the game. I thought it was just so unlike any other thing that I have seen. I thought it felt real. I thought the characters were like cool and funny and hip, and I wanted to like be their friend and stuff like that. And yeah, so since then, I even liked the second one, the third one, and eventually I came around to like the fourth one a lot, actually. So I just feel like they had really huge shoes to fill, I suppose. To try to come in and sort of reboot or requel a franchise like this, especially with Wes Craven not being around anymore, especially with Kevin Williamson not writing and stuff like that. I just thought that they had really big shoes to fill. It must have been a lot of pressure, and under that pressure, I think these folks did a great job. So yeah, I love these films. I hold them near and dear to my heart. How about you? How do you feel about these? I would even go as far to say as that Scream 1 is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. I actually haven't watched it in a long time, but that's because I used to watch it on repeat and probably have seen it a few hundred times. Not even exaggerating. Probably. At least 100. I would say at least 100 times. Anyway, let me know what your favorite film of the franchise is, and if you think this one can compare. So let's check it out, shall we? And before we go ahead and do that, you should know that there are definitely going to be some spoilers ahead, because I'm just going to go right into the whole thing as I saw it already. If you didn't see it, click off this video, but feel free to come back after you watched it, and let's have a chat, shall we? And feel free to comment down below and let me know what you think about my thoughts, what you thought about the movie, whether you liked it or not, and all that. Alright, so for the opening sequence, as usual, for a Scream movie, I think they brought this. I really liked the intro, actually. I thought it was really kind of twisted how he was sort of toying with her on the phone or with the doors. It was like really scary. I was like genuinely like, like, what the heck's gonna happen kind of deal. I love the mentioning of the original stab and how it happened and everything, and how he was like, hey, this is that part where that person answers the phone. And then she got really scared. That was crazy. I, of course, like the clever updates with the technology and all, as we usually see, I feel like, in Scream movies. But I also feel like they for real spoiled most of this scene with the trailer. I thought it was really brutal, though. It was just really intense attack. Like, I actually felt for her. And I also kind of thought it was ridiculous that she survived. Like, nobody really survives some like attacks like that. So I was definitely kind of like, oh, she's alive? That's weird. But they freaking killed Drew Barrymore so easily. Am I right? R.I.P. Casey Becker. But I guess the reason that she stayed alive was to get her sister in town. Like, it was all for a point. So I guess that makes sense. It just seems like she survived a pretty brutal attack. So anyway, the intro was cool. I really liked that, actually. It was probably one of my favorites in the film series. So anyway, so as we're introduced to the new folks, I'm kind of like, okay, but where are our old pals, Dewey and Gale and Sydney and all that? You know, I kind of felt like I was missing them for a little bit at first. So I felt like, yeah, the legacy characters, I suppose they're called, were sort of tossed to the side a little bit. And I would be a little less upset about that if the film had been marketed differently. But I feel like, you know, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, and Neve Campbell, they were going around promoting this film. All of the trailers had them in it and stuff like that. So I just thought it was going to be, you know, a legacy character heavy movie. But I just feel like it wasn't. And it makes sense. They're trying to get a new sort of demographic or new generation in, I guess, to see these. So, but yeah, I definitely felt like it was some kind of trick to get old fans to watch as well, which I didn't really appreciate, but I guess I sort of understand why they would do something like that. But they did have some great other nostalgic things, like they had Randy's sister in it. We saw some photos of Randy on the back wall. That was pretty sick. He's my boy. P.S. I was wondering, do you guys think Jamie Kennedy gets paid for that? To use his photos and stuff like that? I don't know, just something I was wondering. Like, they must have contacted him, right? Or do you think that was something like they purchased back in, like, 1996? I don't know, just some thoughts. Let me know what you think. Also, I thought like a little callback for Judy Hicks or whatever, the little note on the fridge for her lemon squares, which we found out she loves from Scream 4. I thought that was really cool. That was just a nice touch, and it really made me extra sad that she was laying dead out front and stuff like that, because she was, I don't know, she was kind of sweet, and she was sweet with her boy, and then they both get freaking murdered. And that Judy's murder, by the way, was pretty brutal, and by the way, it was in broad daylight. That was kind of weird, too. It was just like in the middle of the day in the neighborhood. That made it like extra scary for me for some reason. Was that the first time we saw a kill in a Scream movie in broad daylight? I guess we could count Randy in the van, although he kind of got pulled into the van, into the darkness there. But yeah, let me know, because I can't really recall broad daylight kills like that in a Scream movie, or really in any movie, right? It's usually like dark and stuff like that. So that was interesting and scary. In general, in this whole film, though, I felt like Ghostface was like so aggressive, and it was dope, and it seemed so personal and real, which sort of, to me, unfortunately made the reveal / motive not as good later on, in my opinion, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Anyway, I also loved a little bit of nostalgia with the Randy on the couch scene. And finally, in movies, we're seeing people actually do the stuff they should, right? It was clever. When she was talking about, she's watching the movie, and she's like, oh, look behind you, man. And all of a sudden she thinks about it, and she's like, wait, I gotta look behind me. So it's cool that we're finally seeing people do the stuff they actually should in movies. I thought it was clever. I liked the nostalgia of it. I liked that she was like sort of even wearing similar colors to Jamie Kennedy back in the day. Or Randy, I should say. But yeah, I just think it's really awesome that we're seeing people do things that they actually should in movies. Just like how Tara and them were trying to get the heck out of town. They're like, we're not dumb, we're getting the freak out of Woodsboro. I was like, oh my god, finally. Like the one thing that everybody should do every single time in a movie, and they're actually going to do it. That's awesome. I thought it was really good, actually. I think it's a great movie. I did think it was filmed a little bit differently or something, but recently I found out, I felt the same about 4 when it came out, but apparently that was some kind of stylistic choice that Wes Craven decided, I guess just to show us that it's not part of the original like trilogy, like it's kind of a new story or a new vibe going on, something like that. I don't know. Let me know if that's correct or not, or what you think, but this one was filmed, it was just really like chaotic and tense and stuff like that, but it also made it feel like more real, I thought. I was genuinely scared. But I suppose the nostalgic person in me wants it to look like it's from the 90s or something as well. I felt this way about 4 too, like I said, but I've grown to really love that one, so maybe I'll grow to love this one as well. Besides little tiny baby Jill as the killer, which I wish was Selena Gomez. Shh. But yeah, I always think that that's funny when Ghostface is like 6 foot tall and then little baby people revealed. Anyway, so I guess I could believe Richie in the costume, but little tiny Amber too, I guess, is a little funny to me. But anyway, you know, we get the point. I guess Amber's character was sort of like Stu, right? Living in her house, or Stu's house from back in the day, also throwing a party, which I did get total nostalgic vibes, because it seemed like a total just like I don't know, like a modern version of Stu's party. I was like, oh, this is cool. It feels like an old school movie, right? At a party, and people start getting murdered off. So yeah, so Amber's living in Stu's house and throwing a party. So in that sense, it's like literally like Scream 1996, right? It was the boyfriend of the main girl who was one of the killers and the friend that lived in that house. So I don't know, maybe because we would least expect an actual exact copy is why it worked, because I was thinking about it afterwards and I didn't even realize it, like, as I was watching it. And you know, they talk about these requels and stuff like that, but it literally is almost like a direct copy, just slightly different, new characters, kind of new vibes and stuff like that. So I thought that was interesting, and I feel like typically I would be mad about something like that, but I feel like they did it right for some reason. It felt sort of natural, and I don't know, it was good. I thought it worked. He definitely did a good job throwing me off with Richie. Like, I of course suspected him very first, but he just seemed so nice and sweet, and he was really questioning it about Tara. He was really acting like he wanted to learn about the stab movies, right? He's sitting down like, oh, I gotta watch all these. I don't know anything about this. Like, he really was throwing me off pretty good. I trusted this man, you know? I trusted this man. Right up to the very end, even, when he was hiding and sort of seemingly acting like a wimp in the closet there. But yeah, it was literally like an exact replica of 1996, even in the kitchen. You know, that iconic sort of standoff with the killer standing in the kitchen and stuff like that. That was pretty cool. I just wish they were connected in some way, like the killers and their motives and stuff like that. Although I suppose they are using forced connection by getting Billy's daughter involved. I just thought that there would be sort of more of a reason to even be at Stu's house, right? Rather than just be like, oh, I got it there. I guess it was the killers. Through the killer's perspective, like, I guess they got them there and did all that, but I don't know. Even Amber, how she just sort of lived there, it does make sense. You know, if you start looking online and realizing you live in a murderer's house or something like that, I guess you could be obsessed and kind of go down a rabbit hole and figure all that stuff out. And I don't know. It was just, I feel like out of all of the Scream movies, I feel like it was definitely one of the weakest motives, perhaps, for a killer reveal. Just because they're usually just like almost directly connected in some way, you know what I mean? Yeah, but anyway. Oh yeah, I also found it to be a little bit repetitive, even though I know it's a requel, and I know it's kind of like a remake of it, but it's a little repetitive because they also revisited this original sort of set in the third one as well, right? When they were making the films in Hollywood and all that. Yeah, let me know what you think about that one. So while it is clever, I feel like it also has totally been done before, but maybe they're just trying to keep the same Scream vibes kind of deal. I don't know. Let me know what you think. I did like the music too. I saw a couple people online saying they weren't a big fan and stuff like that, but I liked it. I thought that it was pretty nostalgic. I thought they paid some pretty good tribute to the old films. Like, I love when Dewey shows up. He has his sweet music and all that, and you know, goofy little Dewey's gonna come in on the scene, right? Or in the car when Ghostface left that song on playing from the first film, I believe. I probably should have looked that song up, but you know which one I'm talking about. Or maybe I'll put a little note somewhere. But that was cool. Oh, I thought, I'm sorry, Miss Jackson. Ooh, I am for real. I thought that was good, like playing for a second, but all of a sudden some gal was singing. And that was cool because it was nostalgic, but also fresh. Like I said, sort of a modern take on Scream. That's what it felt like. I'm getting nostalgic vibes, but also new school for a new generation, which is dope. I know that new folks sort of made this film, so you just got to take it for what it is. But in general, I thought they did a great job. I thought they paid, lots of respect to the other ones. They're clearly big fans. It didn't fully feel like a Scream movie for me. Like I said, I think they did a really great job. One of the things that I liked/disliked was that we got a freaking old school Billy Loomis cameo. How how freaking sick is that? I thought that was really cool to see him on the screen, but at the same time, I thought that the visions were just very strange. For a Scream film, anyway. That just didn't feel like a Scream movie for me. Even though I know they had Sydney's mom in the third one come as a ghost, kind of whatever. She was kind of having visions, or was she dreaming? I don't know. I also always thought that was like the killer actually sort of dressed up. Like wasn't like there a Ghostface under a sheet at one point coming at her? Like I guess I never fully understood if that was like a vision or for real. Like, I wasn't ever fully sure what point they were trying to get across with that. So I know that they have kind of done this in the franchise before, but for some reason, this weird talking to Billy Loomis thing did not feel like something that belonged in a Scream movie. It kind of just it reminds me of something that's in just some kind of like paranormal movie or something like that. Anyway, let me know what you think about that. Just my opinions, y'all. With all that being said, I don't know, it was definitely cool to see Billy again. He looked great. I'm sure they did some kind of de-aging technology stuff and all that. Which, by the way, the Scream franchise is always sort of knocking cliches and things that are sort of played out and trends and things, but this sort of de-aging stuff also to me sort of seems like what's hip right now with the deep fakes and where all the technology is at. So is this the Scream franchise sort of hopping on a trend? I don't know. In that aspect, it sort of seemed very current to me. But these movies have always sort of been ahead of their time, if you ask me, and especially the fourth one. But I don't know. Perhaps this is what happens when Kevin Williamson doesn't write it. Ooh, burn. No, I'm just kidding. These guys did a good job. They definitely tried to do like their own thing with this film while trying to sort of respect and honor the old one and of course the late great Mr. Wes Craven. The toxic fandom thing felt a little played out to me because wasn't that sort of Jill's thing in the fourth one? It's not quite exactly the same. Maybe not with the movies, but like Sydney and fan-obsessed kind of deal. And I don't know. And her connection was that she was actually part of the family, I guess. So that's why it worked for me, even though I was like, oh, this like little girl did that. But I don't know. I guess if you're crazy, you got that crazy psychopath strength and stuff like that. So that's fine. Anyway, oh yeah. I also really love how they threw in something like, oh, why did they just call it Stab? We all know it's Stab 8. What do they think they're hiding from us? I forget who said that, but somebody said something like that at some point. And I thought that was great because at least they are sort of self-aware that some folks would be thinking that, like me. Even after watching it, I'm still a little confused as to why it's not called Scream 5, unless that goes with this whole requel thing that they were talking about. Which maybe you folks can explain to me a little better. Maybe I'm missing something. Perhaps this is more of a genius film than I thought, and I'm just missing something here. So I'm definitely looking forward to hearing what you folks have to say on this and your thoughts. There were a couple of funny lines and stuff like that, but I also felt like some of the jokes were like not funny. I guess they felt a little bit like off character for me some of the times, even though, there's been humor and stuff like that in all the films. But I don't know. I thought Dewey was okay. When he says like, oh, you must be the killer because that joke cut deep and stuff like that. Like, that was funny. I don't know. I really can't even think of any like specific ones. But yeah, some of the dialogue I felt like maybe was a little weak or something, especially with the legacy characters. Like, I feel like maybe they were just trying to make them relevant or something or be funny, but I don't know. Sometimes I feel like that didn't work, but I'm not completely mad at it. And anyways, it's better than the movie that I made. I'll definitely have to watch it again too. I only saw it once and I wrote down my thoughts sort of after seeing this, so I'm definitely going to go see this in theaters again. So as much crap as I talk, you should know that I do love this film, and I didn't feel like that necessarily with the fourth one. Like, I was like, oh, I need to watch this again. It actually took me a little while. I was kind of like upset and I didn't know if I liked that one for a while, but this one I'm like, ooh, I definitely want to see that again immediately. I also just have to watch it again. Maybe it's also because they spoiled most of it in the trailer, especially with some of the dialogue and stuff like that. I just have to remember to stop watching those trailers. Always ruining it. I did actually like feel sad for some of these people when they were getting killed. I don't know, like Judy and her son. It was just pretty intense and felt like very real at times. Like I said, Ghostface was just kind of like a monster in this one, or a savage, as the kiddies say these days. We got some new stabs and stuff I haven't seen. Like, we saw a knife through the face. He had like a double knife at one point. That was dope. I am glad that metal mask and flamethrower situation turned out to be inside of a stab movie. I just thought that would be ridiculous if they were trying to like update it that much for some kind of modern audience. I was just like, that is not even the same movie. But I thought that was funny and clever to show how films in these series or franchises sort of get watered down and, ridiculous after a while, too. Which, thankfully, I don't think that it's happening with Scream so far. Oh, and Dewey's death. Freaking Deputy Dewey. He's gone, but not forgotten. And I knew it, too. I knew, like, when he was like, wait, there's something I gotta do. And when the elevator closed, I don't know, I just had a bad feeling. I was like, oh my God, are they gonna freaking kill Dewey right now? I don't know. Actually, my first thought was the dude, the killer is gone, first of all, already. And then when he was still there, then I was like, oh my God, I just had a bad feeling. Like, are they gonna kill my boy right now? While I hate to see him go, I do appreciate that these filmmakers kind of put up their middle finger and said, no one's safe. You better watch out, son. Right? That's kind of crazy. And he said, it's an honor. I got crazy chills when he said that. I was so sad and so wow, this is epic and badass at the same time. And again, I think that kind of stuff is sort of adding to the realism and severity of what was happening there. So I really felt for Dewey there, right? Or I felt for these characters as they're getting killed. It felt like Randy all over again, to be honest with you. And I was legitimately sad. And I was sad seeing Gail so sad and all that too. She was really great with that too. I was just like, oh my God. I guess because there's a little bit of that realism too, with their old relationship and stuff. But it was just sad. I thought they did a good job with that, even though I clearly didn't want Dewey to die. But yeah. So yeah, I think that's about it. Let me know what you thought about my thoughts. And also what your thoughts are on this film, duders. If you like this kind of video, let me know and I'll do more like it. Make sure to subscribe and like and all that BS. But yeah, I think I'll give this a 7. I certainly was interested the entire time. I was perhaps on the edge of my seat, metaphorically, of course, the entire time. I do have to say this is definitely my least favorite of all Scream movies, but it's still a pretty damn good movie. And I think if the motive was a little stronger or more connected somehow, or Stu's house was more relevant, like I was saying, I don't know. I thought there would be more of a reason for them to end up there. But I guess living there and finding out and becoming obsessed makes sense. But I digress. I don't know. Could have been more of an 8 or 9 for me, but I'm going to have to go with a 7. Because of the reveal and the motive just didn't make me feel, I don't know, just like most of the others did. Besides little tiny baby Jill, I was still kind of I don't know about that one. The motive was there, but maybe the physicality, the believable physicality maybe was not there for me. But I think she does make up for it with her craziness. Anyway, that's a different film. So yeah, let me know what you think about these things. Did you like the film? Did you like the reveal and the motive? Do you think they did a good job with nostalgia or just with the reboot, requel, whatever revibes of the series? Yeah. And until then, keep it real out there, and I guess I'll just have to catch you on the next Natural Reaction.
Darling, you